You see, a soldier is a job. A warrior is a way of life.
Be anywhere, but when I leave, you can remember I said with the last words on my lips that I am.
You've always been a warrior. Everybody wants to be us, and we're running from ourselves.
One of the lies that we tell ourselves is that we are making progress. We tend to equate progress with concessions. We can no longer make that mistake. See, it's no in between. You're either free or you're a slave. There's no such thing as second-class citizenship. But a lot of you running around talking about you Democrats, and the Democrats got you in the biggest trick going. When black people become serious about the revolutionary struggle that they are caught up in, whether they recognize it or not, when they begin to go down and knock off people who are oppressing them, that's when the revolutionary struggle unfolds. Not until.
Hotep family, welcome to the Power to the Panthers podcast. And today we have a very special guest. We have Brother Kaba, and Brother Kaba is also my father. So exactly what I'm doing with this podcast as it relates to fulfilling the objective of what the Panthers laid out comes directly from being influenced from him, from being in that incubator. And he was telling me we have to do things, we have to get things done, and we are here now in 2024, revitalizing what the Black Panthers started, and we're continuing it by bringing forth the different various people, the OGs, the younger people, and various different entities that are down with the Black Revolutionary Movement. So family, this podcast here is to serve the people, and we are here for you, and we are here to put a political agenda in place for Black people in America and across the world. So family, sit back. Brother Kaba, just introduce yourself for the people. Let them know who you are.
Peace, family. All power to the people. I remember that phrase constantly and consistently. All power to the people.
Yes,
I was
yes.
first introduced to the Black Panther Party from its almost immediate movement into New York City. When the Panther Party was formed in October of 1966, I was going to turn 13 that November that followed. So I was becoming a teenager. And one of the things that I remember about the Black Panther Party more than anything else, because you have to realize the times that I was growing up in was a time of the Civil Rights Movement. I was born 2 years before Emmett Till was assassinated. I was born at a time when the Civil Rights Movement, the Human Rights Movement, the Black Revolutionary Movement was coming into fruition in a way that it had never been before. And although there was dynamic people that were doing many great things revolutionary-wise, I remember the day that I saw the Black Panthers going into that legislative building with rifles. You would have to understand the times that we were living in. Because one of the things that I've come to realize is that each and every one of us is born in time, the times that we're living in. Whatever time you were born in, that's when you were born. But as you go through those times, the life that you live shape the times. So the times shape you, but then you shape the times. And I remember the excitement of Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, Fannie Lou Hamer. I remember just the movements themselves, Medgar Evers, James Meredith. You can go through the list of people as I was growing. And so Overhead used to bring us up to meetings. That's where I first met Professor John Henry Clark. Same people that brought me up to see him brought us to Black Panther meetings, brought us on the Saturday meetings. And I remember the first words I learned in Kiswahili came from the classes, the culture classes that the Black Panther Party gave. And I realized that the rifles, the guns, the self-defense has come to define the Black Panthers. But I remember the Black Panthers that taught us our history and our culture. I remember the Black Panthers that served food to those that were hungry. I remember the Black Panthers that would sit and counsel us and talk to us and encourage us. And so my view of the Black Panthers could very well have been what at that time I didn't realize would become my educational career. Because I have always realized the potency of education. I remember lessons that I learned just about the African continent, just about African American people, the enslavement of African people. Those are the things that I remember. And I think that's part of what shaped me, although I didn't realize it until much later, because I wanted to be a lot of things before I became a teacher. Well, not a lot, but I wanted to be an astronaut, for one thing. There were things I wanted to be. The sports that I participated in, fencing and gymnastics, were all things that shaped me. I didn't want to become a gymnast, although I did enjoy gymnastics, and I was a gymnast for my end of high school and college career. But after that, I went another way. Served in the military, 6 years, 2 and a third year in active duty, 3 2/3 in the reserves, serving for 6 years from July of 72 to 78 at the end of the Vietnam conflict. Never went to the theater, never went to war, but they certainly were preparing us for that last moment of war in Vietnam. And this is where I come out of, and that experience in the Air Force and the Army, I was in both. I have an honorable discharge from both the Air Force and the Army. That experience came out of my experience with the Black Panther Party.
How did the Black Panther Party shape your military experience?
Oh, it definitely put me in a military state of mind. It put me in a warrior state of mind. You see, I realized, although I told you I was in the military for 6 years, I was a soldier. But for my people, I'm a warrior. I'm an educational warrior. My enemy is ignorance. My enemy is a lack of knowledge. And so when it put me in a state of warfare, there's more than just a physical warfare. There's a mental warfare. There's a spiritual warfare. Warfare means that you are in battle with those things that wish to defeat you. And that's how I viewed it. So being in the Black Panther Party as it relates to being a cub, you'll never see pictures of me with a rifle. You'll never see me in pictures of entangling with the police, although I was present for some of the activities that I saw happen. I was present, but I was a child. It put me in a state of mind. You see, a soldier is a job. A warrior is a way of life. I've always been a warrior, but I was only a soldier for 6 years. And I think that the Black Panther Party gave me, and like I told you, when I saw them brothers and sisters with them rifles in that government building, it changed my entire outlook, because up until then, I was looking at black folk being beat. I was watching black folk, hoses being put on them, with their shirts being ripped off because the water was so strong. I watched black people in positions that were not the most positive. But when them Black Panthers had them rifles, I saw us in an offense. That changed. This is why I also realized that might be why I always wanted to teach children. And I always wanted to be dynamic for them. I always wanted to represent a man. I always wanted to respect the black woman in their presence, speaking to them in a way that brought respect. Because I realized what they had done for me at a young age. And I realized how beautiful being young is, and being around good people that give you hope, that let you know it's going to be all right. That's why I always tell young people, it's going to be all right. No matter what we're going through in 2024, it's going to be all right, but it's up to us. We have to have a work ethic. And that's what the Black Panthers had. They had a work ethic. What they were doing out of love for their people. There was no ulterior motive in what they did. It was love. And the community trusted them. And as a young person, I saw that trust and the respect that the community had for the members of the Black Panther Party. And that's what the military, that's how it shaped my military concept, to understand what being at war is. So you can't be playing around when you're at war. You can't be lackadaisical when you're at war. At the same time, there are times that the soldier or the warrior can rest and have a good time. And I've often said, and they told us, don't play when you work and don't work when you play. Have that balance in your life. Enjoy life. Show the people there's something worth living for. And that's what they did. There was some of the greatest parties as a child I went to was little get-togethers with the members of the Black Panther Party. And some of the most serious times, the times that we worked as young people to study, was with the Black Panther Party. And that's what I wanted to bring to the classrooms of South Central Bronx. And that's what I want to bring to the classrooms all around the country and the world where I visit and teach classes. You don't play when you work, and you don't work when you play. Enjoy your life. Life is worth living. Enjoy it. But know the difference between when it's time to play and when it's time to work.
What was your experience like being a Panther Cub?
It was just a place to go, an enjoyable place to go. As a young brother growing up in a project, it was good to be around people that were very positive, that looked out for me. Hey, young brother, how you doing? What's going on, man? Everything's all right? Okay, have a seat. Anything that you like? You thirsty? You know, they looked out for us.
And
they were the old ants.
Where exactly was this in New York City?
And I remember that there were places in the Lower East Side. You know, it was according to what was going on. There was never any one place, at least to me, there was never ever any one place that everybody went. Sometimes there was things happening in one area. Other times it was that it was in other areas. They were open to a lot of different groups that would help them and help develop them in terms of the work that they were doing.
Your experience as a Panther Cub, how did that translate then to your military experience? Was there a direct connection between the two?
No, it wasn't direct, but it was indirect.
Okay.
I have to tell you that I learned a lot about fighting. You know, my time in the military, I shot every type of advanced weapon that existed, including tanks. We went down to Fort Knox and did cavalry training, and we did tank training. And each of us shot 2 what's called Saybolt missiles out of the tank. Thousands of dollars each one of these cost. We were attached to various aspects of the military: Marines, Air Force, Army, Navy, Marines. We were attached to things like transportation, communication, you know, learn different things in each of the areas, learned a little bit about everything. Well, we had military science classes where we learned how to read maps and use compasses. You know, it wasn't like it is now. You know, compass is a compass. And that training was real warfare training. You know, because I went to a war college. I went to 2 war colleges. So they were teaching us how to lead in war. This may be something that younger people can understand, but there was a time that we used to have to go to the draft bureau. You know, we had to go to selective service. And there was a time that if you wanted a job or if you wanted to go to school or anything that you wanted to do, I mean, if you were over 18, of course, But anything that you wanted, they had a question on every application, and it said draft status. And you had to tell them where you were, because when you turned 18, you had to register for draft. And every year they had a number that they would, like they had the 365 days from January 1st to December 31st. And every year they would pull a number out. And according to what number you were, like they might pick January 22nd as the first number. That becomes number one. Next number might be April 3rd. That's the second number. Next pick might be June 8th. Okay. And they would do that for all 365 days. When I turned 18, my number was over 200 something. So I knew I didn't have to go. That number that year was, if you were anywhere between 1 and 7, you were going to Vietnam. That's just the way it was. And then from other numbers you would go. And I had a friend that was number 5, but he went into the Air Force. I had another friend that did other things, and he never got into the military. But I freely chose to go because I wanted to understand war. I wanted to understand it. Being in the Black Panther Party, graduated from high school in 1971. The Panther Party still existed. I just wanted to know something more. I felt my contribution would be better if I was militarily. And that's what Dr. John Henry Clark told me. He said, you have a big mouth. You got a lot to say about what you want to do to people. But do you know how to clean a gun? Okay. Do you know the parts of a gun? Do you know how to take a gun apart? These are things I learned in the military. I didn't learn these when I was in the Black Panther Party. These are things that you got to know.
Yes, definitely.
You have to respect your gun. You have to respect your gun like it's your infant baby, and that you love your infant with everything in the world. You have to treat it like that. And so I think that what the Black Panther Party did was that it shaped me to put me in a military state of mind. Marching and walking and standing up proud, standing up straight, having a strong stature, whether you sit or whether you stand or whether you walk. I later developed a program for children. I called it Sitting Royally, Walking Royally, and Standing Royally. I taught them how to stand up straight. I taught them how to sit up straight. And I gave them the science behind it. Not just telling them stand up straight. Why do you stand up straight? In terms of your backbone and in terms of your organs and glands. Why do you walk straight? Why do you sit up straight? I'm not just telling you to sit up straight to sit up straight. There's a reason why I'm telling you. Physiologically why. This is what the military taught me. And so I think that there's no doubt that my military background for the 6 years that I was in made me a warrior. I realized the difference between a soldier and a warrior. Soldier is somebody that does it as a job. A warrior is someone that does it as a life. I remember when I went through basic training twice, once in the Air Force and once in the Army. So I went through 2. And in the Army, I was in basic training for a whole year. When I was in the Air Force, I was in it for 4 weeks. And I remember the things that I learned as it related to duty, honor, and country. I learned that to be duty, honor, and nation. Being dedicated to your nation. I'm dedicated to Black people, period. And I think of Malcolm when he once said that whenever he came to a decision, this is when he was no longer part of the Nation of Islam. This comment came when he had traveled around the world and had been guests of princes and kings and met with some of the most powerful people in the world. And I remember he said that whenever he comes to a decision or a conclusion, he always thinks like a brother or sister on the corner of 125th Street in Harlem or in Detroit or in Los Angeles. In other words, what he was saying is that no matter where he had ascended in his life, no matter where he was as it relates to his popularity, he always thought on behalf of the brothers and sisters that don't have a voice, that people don't know. And I combine those two concepts in my own life. Much of what I do as a understanding that if my brothers and sisters who don't have some of the things that I have, if they don't have it, I think and live like I don't have it. I am blessed. I'm blessed for having people that support me and do all the things that they have done for me. But at the same time, there's a respect I have for those that are standing on the corner with a cup that are asking, can you give me a little help here? Somebody that waits for the light to turn red so they can come up to you and ask you for a little bit of something, because you see, but by the grace of God, Haruna said that could be me. I grew up under the same conditions that so many of our brothers and sisters grew up in, but there was just a chain of events. There were people that brought me into the Black Panther Party because they thought and they believed that there was something in me that could direct myself to that. They brought me to the Nation of Islam meetings. They brought me to meet Dr. Clark. These were conscious brothers and sisters in the projects that knew my father knew their father, and they looked out for us, and they looked out for me. They were the old heads. And I promised that I would always do that for my people. The same thing they did for me, I would do for them. And then the Black Panther Party, being there when I was young and getting a sense of the respect and honor and integrity that they had for each other and for me and for the community, that shaped my later life. Even though I didn't know it at that time, it dropped the seeds when I was young. But those seeds did not blossom until I was out of the military and went into communications, went into into education, and then developed what I did in education. So the same things that they did for me when they were teaching me my culture and my history in Kiswahili, I taught kindergarten children Kiswahili. I taught first graders Kiswahili. There are children, well, they're grown-ups now. Some of them are with children. Some even have grandchildren, young but still have grandchildren. They DM me or they send messages to me, and they say, "I remember when you taught me Kiswahili. I remember you when you taught me culture." I may have had them in kindergarten, second grade, third grade. I have college students tell me the same thing. I saw one just the other day, reminded me of what I did when I taught Introduction to African History and a course on Malcolm X. Each one reach one, each one teach one. And that's what the Black Panther Party did for me.
As we were talking about your experience as a Cub, then we talk about your experiences as it relates to being in the military, and then going through and being an educator for as long as you were, and then now when we're looking at all of the different movements that we're seeing, you know, that it's a calling for the grassroots, the scholars in our community. So seeing all of that, what can the new generation do that coincides with what the Black Panthers set out to accomplish?
One of the things that I used to do with my kindergarten children is I had a poem, and I've got it in each one of my books. It was a poem that I developed, that I had them copy in their notes. You know, I don't know how all school systems work, but when I taught kindergarten to first grade, everybody had like the notebook, and they would, in the beginning, every morning they had class news. They put the date, and then they put class news. And then there would be a proverb for the day, or it would be something that was special for the day. If they had an assembly program or whatever, they would write that in there. their news for the day. We used to always spend maybe 15 to 20 minutes with them writing that news out. And I always had it up on the board before they came in to class. And I think that what I'm saying applies to everybody under all circumstances. And I used to have them write. In fact, Harun Nasset, you and I put a T-shirt together with this saying on the back. Pride is the key. Education is the lock. Life is the door. When we put pride into education, the door to our life is open. I think what we need is a work ethic. And that's what I saw those brothers doing. Those Black Panther brothers, I mean, they would be the ones serving the food. The sisters would be there serving the food. They would cook the food. Sometime a parent would come, they'd feed the parent too. It just wasn't for the children, they fed the parent too. The trust that they had is the kind of trust that we need to have for each other. The ultimate trust that we have for each other. In the Black community, when there would be like a little bit of a problem between people, there were times that they would go to the Black Panther Party and ask them to mediate the problem. They didn't want to go to a European court. What they did is that they solved their problem in the community. And they had the type of respect and trust in the Black Panther Party that they wouldn't take sides. That they wouldn't look out for one person over another. They trusted the Black Panther Party. Do you know the type of trust you have to have for somebody? Because I've been involved in that. Growing up, we had another type of tribunal where I was part of the judges, and this was the trust that the community had in me. And it had to do with money. There was a particular establishment that was got money from certain people. And again, there was supposed to be a certain amount of money returned to them above and beyond what they invested. Few problems in getting the money back, and they wanted a tribunal. So they brought a number of people together, and I was one of them. And we had to come to a conclusion about who we felt was right and who was not as right as they should be. So I lived it, and it wasn't Black Panther. When they involved me in this, it wasn't Black Panther, but it was modeled after that type of trust. They said, I don't feel like getting a lawyer and bringing you to court. I'd rather us do it in-house and handle our business quietly. This was law. And they trusted those that were part of it. And so when I look at and I think of some of the things that I learned and some of the things that I developed as it related to the Black Panther Party was trust. You know, the Bloods have to trust the Crips. The Bloods have to trust the Bloods, but most importantly, each individual has to trust him or herself. How are you going to trust somebody else if you don't trust yourself? If you don't believe and love yourself, how are you going to help somebody else if you don't love yourself? You can't love someone else if you don't love yourself. And so as I move through life and I've learned from the lessons that I've learned from the Black Panther Party and from my time in the military and my time in the educational system, being with children. I told my own children for years when I watched, in 1979, I started teaching in New York. I started teaching in 1977 in Gary, Indiana. I started teaching in New York in 1979. The number one song on the radio was Rapper's Delight. Okay? And so I was there in the beginning of rap music. I was there when brothers and sisters would sell their audio cassettes from the back of their cars. I watched when rap music began to get co-opted by forces that wanted to control it because it was so powerful and so real. It was a new art form on the planet that was going across the world. I remember Abi O'Doon, brilliant brother that was part of the Last Poets, one of the original rap groups that came out of that era. Abiodun said, because we had him come into our district. I brought him in to do language arts classes with our middle school students. They do rap, they write rap or write different things, and he would help them with their writing. We call him Doom. That was his nickname, Doom. And I remember Abiodun. In fact, you remember the time I was at that conference at the National Black Theater where Abiodun was on the panel with me, and I told Abiodun this story. I said, Abiodun, I remember the time that we brought you in to do language arts classes with the middle school, and you told them this story. And the story that Doon told the group, the students, was that you don't realize the power that you have. You don't realize how the world looks at you and what you're doing right here in the Bronx. Abiodun said, to put it to you like this, they watch how you dress, they watch how you act, they watch how you do what you do, and they copy you. You don't realize that. Abiodun said that if you were to go out and buy a pair of sneakers tomorrow and put the sneakers under your bed and wear the boxers to school, 3/4 of the youth of the world would be wearing boxers on their feet right now. We don't realize our power. We don't realize the influence that the Black community has on the world, be it jazz, be it rock and roll, be it hip hop. We don't understand the power that we have. And everybody wants to be us. And we running from ourselves. So if I could tell the young people anything, I would tell them, own your greatness, have a work ethic, and realize it's going to get better. Don't let what you see in 2024 make you think that things are hopeless. Because that's what the oppressor hopes, that you believe that it is hopeless. And I'm telling you, hope is not all you need. Hope stands at the door of success or failure. It goes back to what you said in the beginning, Haruna said. It's about what you do, not what you say. And whatever you say should be what you do, and whatever you do should be what you said. Think truth, speak truth, do truth. That's my message to young people. Never give up. Keep on keeping on. It ain't over till we win. Solar power is the future wealth of the planet. Teach the children.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Perfectly said. What a wonderful way to end this edition of our Power to the Panthers podcast. And family, we are here to revolutionize the people every day, 24/7. We're here to bring a new way to look at, because the Black Panthers laid out the blueprint for us to take forth as it relates to the political sense, because both Bobby and Huey were individuals who understood the level of education, especially law, how that can benefit Black people, especially here in America, and all the conversations we're seeing now as it relates to reparations. So family, I appreciate you. This will continue because the revolution won't ever stop. Like our brother Fred Hampton said, you can kill a revolutionary, but you cannot kill the revolution. So family, until next time, stay strong, stay Black. Huey, take us away.
I'm currently in school. I'm at UC in Santa Cruz. I'm a candidate for the Doctor's Degree in social philosophy, and I'm working on my dissertation. I should have it finished by June. And of course, I'll carry on our community work with the Black Panther Party. And I'm writing a book and doing all sorts of things. I'm very happy today.
Thanks for watching. This episode of Power to the Panthers podcast has been brought to you by Panther Prince Productions.